Is a thing rolling? Is it? Alright, so like we're now in chapter 12 on La Casa de Fireworks, and I'm continuing from where I left off. He knocked on the door of Irina's room. He yelled and he said, "Grandma, you left your grand keys locked outside. Please do have the decency to get up and open the door." The door opened after hearing a lot of locks and bolts turning. Irina had a machete and she was half asleep. Her eyes opened wide when she saw Judas. She took a swing at him and Judas said, "Whoa, I'm your neighbor. It's me, Judas. You know me. Or have you gone see now?" Irina narrowed her eyes a bit and then the light of recognition came into her face. Frowning, she said, "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing, although you remember. Your kids went to the carnival. They're outside and you locked them out of the house," explained Judas. "Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot," said Irina, alarmed. She ran to the entrance and she removed all the last locks to allow the family to enter inside. With the noise probably solved, Judas allowed himself to return to bed. Waiting for him was his cat, Mika. He lay down on the bed and he put the cat on top of his forehead. Once both felt comfortable, Judas breathed in a sigh of relief and he quickly fell asleep. The following day was more or less uneventful. Since the carnival happened to coincide with an important secular holiday, there was the fireworks at night. It was around 8 p.m. when the fireworks began. The children were watching with their parents a TV show called Pateando la Lata, or Kicking the Can. It was a variety comedy show with different skits. From time to time, it got censored. One of the best jokes was about telling the children to behave, otherwise they would be forced to watch Russian cartoons. The children came outside to see the fireworks. Efrasia saw across the road Jennifer. She lived in the house right in front of her. He asked her, "Can you see the fireworks from there?" "Yes, I can see them clearly from my house," said Jennifer. The brother and sister ran across the road to see the fireworks. Efrasia held his sister's hand and then he looked both ways before crossing the road. The street was pretty dark, so even looking both ways didn't help much. On the one corner there was a single light post, and whenever there were blackouts, it was the only thing that was lit on. This night in particular, it was turned off. As a result, the street was in complete darkness. Efrasia was only able to recognize Jennifer because of her silhouette. She too was bathed in shadows, while the faint black lighting of the windows was somewhat attenuated by the faint backlighting of the windows that was hid behind the curtains. The streets themselves were pretty silent, except for the occasional sound of fireworks. The children went back and forth between the houses a couple of times. On the fourth time they were crossing the street, they got run over. Thankfully, they got run over by a bicycle and not a car. This is not to say that a bike cannot kill a person. It has been known to happen, but there are no statistical records of pedestrian deaths caused by bicycles. Francis was the first to rise and his sister soon followed. The impact had pushed Francis and he had pushed his sister to the side as well. As a result, Lucero fell into the asphalt, bruising her hands and knees. Since Francis had gone limp, he didn't get hurt too much. Still startled, he did what came naturally to him. Crying, him and his sister started yelling and running back home before saying, "Mom, we got run over." "What?" exclaimed the three adults. Angelica ran to Lucero first, who seemed quite bloody. After getting the wounds clean and bandaged, Lucero was more or less in one piece. Still, she would go limp from her scraped knees for the next couple of months. She would limp from her scraped knees for the next couple of months. On the following morning, Efracio came outside to practice his straight punch. He was disappointed to know that Judas was not there. Efracio saw across the road where he had fallen. There were some blood marks on the place where Lucero had fallen. He also noticed that there was a blood splatter ahead as well. What had occurred was that the cyclist had been propelled from his seat after bashing against the two-shooter. Since he did not have a helmet, he had bashed his skull against the floor. The front of the wheel of the bike had been ruined. The identity of the cyclist was poor Judas. He had been returning from visiting his grandmother when he ran over the children. Since his bicycle had no light and the street light was off, he didn't see anything. This was an unfortunate accident. Still, this did not stop Judas from becoming depressed. he was not seen or heard from until fall. And when he was spotted again, he was his usual self, all thanks to the curing magic of electroshock therapy. And how much time do we have in the...
9 minutes, 45 seconds.
Alright. Okay, chapter 13, The Moon. The school year began and with it its first series of blackouts. Almost every Wednesday there was a blackout. The reason behind it didn't matter much. It was during one of those hot nights that the shadow began to appear on top of the roof of the house. The couch always faced the interior garden, and during those hot nights the garden was open to allow the moonlight to enter. Lucero had just received her treatment and she was not feeling particularly well. To help her feel better, her mother was giving her soft tickles in the back of on her back using the tips of her fingernails. The teeth. It was then when she noticed the shadow on top of the roof. It was sporting a white mask. The distortion of the darkness, combined with the fever and the nausea, distorted the figure. Lucero thought that it was the moon that had come for her. At the time, the family had been seeing a cool telenovela called Mujeres de Arena, or Women Made of Sand. It was about a special fellow who used to make sand sculpture. He happened to be raised by the guy who murdered his mother, though he did not know it at the time. Anyhow, every so often, when he was feeling blue, he would go out to the mountains and start asking the moon to take him away. Whenever this occurred, his friends would track him down up the mountain and they would tie him to a tree to keep the moon from sucking him up into the sky. There was a lot of magic realism in that telenovela. In Spanish folklore, the moon is the personification of death. The reason behind it is that a lot of people tended to drop dead due to exposure. Without proper shelter, humans can easily drop dead. This is why having a roof over your head is important. One never knows when the moon might come for you and take you away. When Lucero thought she saw the moon, she closed her eyes and she covered her face. She did so whenever she was watching a scary movie. She opened her hands a little to peer to see if the shadow was gone. The shadow had indeed departed when he noticed that the girl had seen her. There was a lot of bizarre superstitions about the girl. It would get even worse the following week after she received her healing mass. Overnight she had been cured by the saints or medicine. It depends what you want to believe. The following morning, Angelica and her children went to see Ricardo. He was at home with his oldest daughter, looking rather nervous. His wife was in labor, and it was tradition for him to drink himself stupid. Whenever he was drunk, he would beat his daughter within an inch of his life. To prevent this, Angelica was at home with him. The children were in the back garden with Jana Maria. They were looking at the birds in the backyard. Lucero were looking at the bird, one of the birds that she asked Jana Maria, "How does it work?" Jana Maria explained, "You put seeds here, and when the bird stands on it, the trap opens out and then he's caught." "Ah, poor bird," said Ofracio. "It is for the best, I suppose. Outside it will get eaten by other birds, or it will starve to death. At least in this prison it will have some degree of certainty," said Jana Maria. "I don't know, it all depends on the owner," said Lucero. "Yes, there is one killing class that gets a new pervert practically every week. The dog eats it or he squashes it. It seems like such a waste to provide 5 seconds of entertainment to an irresponsible brat," said Ofracio. "Oh, is that why you never asked Father to give you a bird?" asked Jana Maria. "I just don't feel like I'm ready to take care of something that's alive. I can barely keep my houseplants alive," said Ofracio. "That's because you don't water them," said Lucero. "And you water them too much," retorted Ofracio. "I suppose that is how things are. For people to learn, a lot of creatures must die," said Jana Maria. "And we saw them today," commented Lucero. "I suppose it's a stupid telenovela that's got everyone thinking about the moon," said Jana Maria. "Well, the dogs don't help much in that department," said Lucero. The conversation continued candidly. Eventually, Angelica came to pick up the children. She said to Jana Maria, "I spoke with your father, and he said that you could go to the pool with us. Do you want to come?" "Yes, if I must," said Jana Maria. Jana Maria hated the pool because she always got terrible sunburns. One time it got so bad that she had to get a special ointment used on burn victims. Remember when this Angelica said, we're not going to that pool, we're going to in Aguas Claras. It has some ponds for shading, so I thought that you would get my sunburn there. Neat, said Jana Maria, happening. Jana Maria ran to her bedroom. She took care to shorten her pace and look sudden when she passed by her father. There was nothing that her father hated more than seeing her happen when he was miserable. She took her clothing and her pink polka dot bathing suit. The girls wore elegant white dresses and shoes. In the bus station, they met Angelica's nurse and friends, Camila, Dominguez, Vargas, Cueva, etc., etc. Since Camila was so unimportant, she was able to go to the tourist resorts only. Since it was the low season, the resort of Aguas Claras was empty. It had a nice pool, the type that actually had a bottom. On that particular day, Camila had a camera. She said to Angelica, do you want to take some nice photos of the children? Certainly. It has been ages since I received film from the States, said Angelica. Next time there's a mission there, I could see about getting you some film, suggested Camila with a gleam in her eyes. Oh, please, it's not that important, said Angelica. She knew that when Camila said get, she meant steal. Then again, stealing was not seen as a true crime in Cuba. It was all about the poor getting what they deserved from the rich. Angelica made her way towards the fountain. Her kids and Jana Maria followed along. They all took one photo each by the fountain. What time?
2 minutes.
After concluding the photo shoot, the kids went to the pool. Since Angelica was not feeling in a swimming type of mood, she went outside to take a nap while pretending to sunbathe. As for Camila, she started giving swimming lessons to the children. The hours rolled slowly by, and around late afternoon, Angelica awoke with a start. She was having a stress dream about riding a bike while surrounded by infinite darkness. When Angelica awoke, she was dripping in a cold sweat. She whispered, "Oh, God be willing, I will learn to forgive or at least forget." "Talking to yourself, are you?" asked Camila, staring at Angelica with mild amusement. "No, I'm not. I am praying," said Angelica. "Both are one and the same if you ask me," said Camila, raising an eyebrow. "Let's not get into that right now," said Angelica, jumping into the pool. "Ah, you're no fun," said Camila. "Jesus Christ, the water's cold," commented Angelica after rising to the surface. After the swimming lesson, the children went to play with a ball. Meanwhile, Camila and Angelica spoke about work nonsense. At the moment, the children were singing a silly song while holding hands and going round and round. As for the movie, they were talking about another abandoned baby incident. It had been left in the cemetery to die. The avispas or wasps were thinking of stalking the cemetery to see who was the jerk who kept doing that in order to turn her into an example. As it stood, children were a precious resource that they could just not do without. While they were talking about this, Angelica remembered the story she had heard from her great-grandmother about her mother's birth. Irina's mother at the time had 2 children. She had been thinking about aborting her 3rd daughter. Eventually, her cousin convinced her not to do so. She said that Irina could be a friend of her son or her daughter. When Irina eventually came into the world, her mother still ended up abandoning her in a barn. When she was found, the ants had already bitten her. This story was enough to scar Irina for life, and she wondered why they had even told her that she was unwanted in the first place. The night fell, and with it rose the moon. Alright, we'll continue with the moon and her antics later. Bye bye and God bless.